Hello everyone, and I apologize for how long this took. I've no excuse beyond laziness and heat. I'm writing this after finishing the Yakuza 2 script. I made a video on JoJo Phantom Blood because I figured it would be a good stopgap, because I thought Yakuza 2 would take a while. It ended up taking a month to write after the Phantom Blood video had already come out. It took a bit. The JoJo video in its entirety, from starting the script to finishing video production, was a little over a week. I'd recorded the footage in January, which saved some time, but hey, I figured I'd be able to get Yakuza 2 out shortly after, within a month. But I failed myself in that regard. After this, I did play some of the Part 5 game recently. Only a couple of stages. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the fan translation, since that could turn out pretty fun. And from what little I played, I will say it controlled a lot better than Phantom Blood. I had little idea what was going on during gameplay, but it was entertaining. The character controlled smoothly, punches sent enemies flying. It has a system where you can recreate scenes from the manga mid-fight and you get rewarded. And I love it. It's ingenious. You know, you're turning the source material into a guide for extras. It's so cool. I need to play more to get a better handle on it, to see how it shakes out. I also am not going to go right into covering this Part 5 game for a few reasons, but it's mostly because I am far less familiar with Part 5 than I am with 1. I've only read through Part 5 once, and I'll confess I was mentally checked out during some fights. I got really bored. I was really engaged with others. The Green Day fight turned out to be one of my favorite stand battles. And the problem I have with Part 5 is I appreciate it more in concept than I did actually reading it. Mobster stand battles. Every character is a merciless killer, and near enough every single stand is esoteric and overpowered. But I disliked it because it just turned out to be very Monster of the Week. It really felt like throughout reading it, there were only 3 things that happened. Like, a lot of fights were just breaking up 3 story beats. Anyway, I got a bunch of comments yelling at me for telling people to feel free to skip parts. To skip part 1 at least, which I found more amusing than anything else. Each part of JoJo is very self-contained. There are some recurring elements, and the nature of stands and powers gets a sliver more exploration each part, but they're each very different in tone. They even mix up genres. I stand by what I said. I have watched part 1 twice. I beat this game to retell it. I did a commentary on it. I read a bit of the manga in the production of this video, and then I made a video about it. I think it's fair that I can say you can get part 2 onwards without part 1. I'm not saying I'm the absolute authority on it, but I've got a pretty good gut feeling from what I've experienced you can do that. And let's face it, part 3 Dio is basically a different person, and I'm going to diverge for a second because my throat is hurting. I don't know why. I feel it's been so long, or something's changing me today, that I'm really throwing my voice a lot and it's hurting, and I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to speak more calmly. You know, part 3 Dio is basically a different person. 100 years submerged under the sea will do that to a person, and you get everything you need to know about part 1 from Joseph. Hell, I should cover the part 5 game when I do, and just jokingly tell people to skip every odd-numbered part. Just piss everyone off in one go. By the way, just a status update on where I am in JoJo. I'm still reading part 6. I'm very slow these days, and it's really concerning me. I only have a minor add-on that most of you watching this probably already know. This game was made to be in conjunction with an animated movie adaptation of part 1. I know very little about it. Speedwagon is largely cut. I think it only screened once, and it's been hidden from public view since then. Araki didn't like it. We do have Dio's theme, which, on some level, I really dislike this music, and on another level, I just ended up listening to it a ton. I don't know if that's a level, but I listened to it a bunch. So, yeah, let's go on to questions. Army Ball. I'd really like to see some of those bonus battles in the Afterthought video. Also, how did you come to the decision to not only play, but finish this game despite the problems you described yourself? I'll have the battles playing throughout. I don't have every battle. As for why I ended up playing this all the way through, it's just more in general, I enjoy bad games. I enjoy breaking them down. I've always been able to claw enjoyment out of anything, and I have very strange standards. I try to enjoy things, which is a very strange way of looking at it, but that's how I go. That's how it goes. Like, how some people like bad films, I like bad games. And, you know, I've covered a good few on the channel. Not necessarily bad games, but games with massive flaws that I nonetheless played to completion. You know, White Gold, Precursors, Gangland, Ride to Hell, Postal 3, Dead Rising 4. Even Boiling Point had massive flaws. And, you know, those aren't all bad games. You know, a couple of them there are dreadful, but you get the point. In some cases, a heavily flawed game can present a really unique experience. You know, I won't experience a fighter like Phantom Blood in many places. It made me want to get that full experience here. Also, I've realized that my decision-making process for whether I should do something is really out of whack. Since the question, will this make an interesting story, is far above, is this a waste of my time in terms of priority? You know, plus with the YouTube channel, I now feel a need that when I find something hidden, unique, and weird, I want to talk about it. From a purely selfish standpoint, I want to be the one who brings it to the table. I want to cover things that no one else has or very few people have. It's just far more fun to do that. I know I'm not going to be treading on other people's toes talking about a game. I know I'm going to have an entirely unique perspective. There is some laziness in it. When I'm covering something big, I still want to say something that's unique to me. I don't mind saying what other people have said before if I find it to be true in how I view it, but I like to say something different. I can't always do it, but that's the aim of it. So I have a few reasons. Some of them are just pure fascination. Others are because I like to play a good spectrum of games of various qualities and really dig into them. And some, I suppose, are business reasons. They are games that fit into what I want on the channel. Skeleton, what genre would you adapt each part into? This is a good question, but I'm assuming you're talking about what video game genre would I turn each part into. So this question took me the longest to think up answers for. Some of them I had to change partway through as I like, oh, actually, that's better. So it's really hard, but this is a good question. Part 3 has already been adapted a couple of ways. You know, an RPG, a 2D fighter, a 3D fighter. And I mean, Eyes of Heaven adapts every part in the same way. Though it does it by replacing the plot. So, for the purposes of this question, let's pretend I had infinite resources and a bunch of yes men who would not fight me. They may, in the back of their minds, go, this won't work, but they aren't going to stick their noses in. They aren't going to fight me. And I'm going to make my answers maybe a little ridiculous, and I'm also challenging myself to have a different genre for each game, just to make this question tricky. Like, I made this question a bit easier, now let's make it a bit trickier. So, anyway, Phantom Blood, well, I'm turning that into a pachinko machine. You know, that's just the level of respect it deserves. No, I'm kidding. That's lazy. Honestly, I would adapt it into a Muso-style game, with the story framing being its Speedwagon, recounting an embellished story to a young Joseph. The early life would be compressed a ton, and it would just be beating up a lot of vampires. I'd maybe expand on the roles of Zappelli, make it seem like a really larger-than-life tale that's being told to a young Joseph. Battle tendency, and this one's odd. I would make it a WarioWare-style micro-game deal. You know, Joseph style, it's very much quick thinking and bluffs. So I think there could be a good variety of mini-games, setting traps, doing sleight of hand, and so on. I'd make it fast-paced but simplistic. Story scenes probably compressed to their bare essentials, a fast and fun game, to keep with Joseph's light-hearted and freewheeling nature and how he handles situations. Stardust Crusaders I would adapt into Talisman, an RPG board game with the story ripped out. If you haven't played Talisman, it's very simple. Get to the innermost segment of a map and defeat the final boss. It's kind of like a tabletop. It's a board game role-playing game. Heavy on RNG, and is more about every player gathering items, powering up the character they get, and there's a lot of characters, each with their own unique bonuses, and fucking each other over. Every stand user is competing to get to Dio's manse, to defeat Dio and get their hands on the bow and arrow. Yeah, I just tossed the story out the window and just made it purely about going to get a MacGuffin. The actual story doesn't matter in Talisman. It's about the story that ends up happening at the table. Tales of players going, hey, let's try and work together, of backstabbing, of getting powered up, of finding that really unique, cool item and ending up creating this ridiculously overpowered build, and then you just die and lose it and have to start with a really shit character. It's about those little stories that just end up happening through dice rolls. You know, it's that kind of game. And I feel Stardust Crusaders probably best adapts into this sort of journey with a bunch of people, just all of them. You know, Dio isn't controlling an army here. Everyone's fighting to get to Dio to defeat him. I've rechanged the story a bunch, but hey, who would not want to play Whole Horse in Talisman? Diamond is Unbreakable is easy because this isn't my idea. It's an idea I read elsewhere and agree with. And, guess what? It's Yakuza. Get motherfucking Yakuza team on that shit to adapt it. You're wandering Morio, you're doing side stories, stand battles, fights against random thugs and goons, minigames. The question I am asking myself is if I adapt the story itself or make a sequel tale. I want to say expand on the actual plot because I'm saving a sequel plot for the next game in question. Golden Wind is a sequel plot about the power vacuum created by Giorno and chums. You'd play a new character, very quickly elected to lead a small family within Pashone, now led by Giorno, with another Mafia Don with his own set of stand users threatening to start a ruckus. This would be a game with light gang management and strategy elements. You'd create your own character, and you would take a personality quiz to randomly pick a stand. Or maybe just let you pick. The story, ironically, would probably be more akin to Yakuza than my Diamond is Unbreakable idea. There's a gang war going on, a lot of people making moves, and Giorno is trying to root out those within Pashone who are disloyal or still pushing drugs. The actual gameplay beyond the gang management would be styled after XCOM, a small, squad-based tactical combat game, heavy on positioning and taking out opponents. A lot of it would be finding stand users who complement each other, or moving into positions to best use stand powers. I realized just now, besides this, I just really want a tactical RPG stand game. Maybe I should play Devil Summoners or... I don't know what that SMT spin-off is. That is a tactical battling game, but goodness, I should just play more SMT in general, I suppose. Now, I should probably stop... Oh, I bumped the mic. I should probably stop here because, you know, this is where my knowledge of the franchise becomes a lot more limited. I don't want to just skip to parts... I don't want to skip to part 7, but I'm only a few hundred pages into part 6, and it's dragging for me. Which is a shame, because I like Jolene, and I like Stone Free, but I'm not feeling it. There's a part of me that wants to say Stone Ocean I would adapt into a sort of 999-style escape room puzzle game, each room being a puzzle to solve. But I don't know how well that would fit with everything I know of part 6. I don't have an answer for part 8. I have a tiny one for part 7, and that's obviously a combat racing game, but I'll leave it there since I haven't read it. I can't give any real nuance to my answer whatsoever. Favorite JoJo? It's a toss-up between Josuke and Joseph. They're both the most laid-back, fun-loving protagonists with quick wits and a lot of self-confidence. Joseph's more fun to watch, but I find Josuke a lot more endearing. Favorite supporting character? Jobro, Rohan, or Okiyasu. Favorite villain? Whole Horse, which is odd. I disliked him the first time I watched part 3, but he grew on me. I like his approach to life. I mean, it's kind of cheating since he was supposed to become a good guy. He was supposed to join the Stardust Crusaders, but that didn't come to pass. Favorite villain, who is actually a villain and not a showboating flamboyant vampire / comedic relief. Kira. Yeah, you're probably getting this, but I like part 4 a lot. That's probably becoming clear. He's such a unique villain, so much more low scale, has to approach protagonists very differently, and has a really interesting arc. Which part has the least bullshit ending? There's a little bit of bullshit in each of them, but then hey, the question is least bullshit. It's funny how readily we accept part 2's bullshit ending because it fits Joseph's propensity for bullshit. You know, he admits himself, he didn't plan for that ending to come to pass. He admits it to himself. He's like, but I'll lie and said this was all part of the scheme. It will piss the villain off, and that's fun. Part 3's ending is, in a way, not bullshit. It is in another way. Fuck, you know, Star Platinum the world. It's just, oh, I can do it too. It makes, but the actual concept of, I can't destroy the body, so I will destroy the stand. It makes sense. It works. Dio's body, so... It's just how it comes to pass that's really unsatisfying. Part 4, from what I've read so far, is the least bullshit ending. You know, maybe part 1 on some level is, you know, less bullshit, but part 4 is just way better. It's It's tragic, it's accidental. All the characters are even a little bit unhappy with how it shook out, but they have to admit it's probably one of the best outcomes they could have hoped for. The way it happens is abrupt and, you know, it is in a way bullshit. It's just, oh, that just happened. But it also, you know, they're not pulling things out of their arse. It's just, everyone has to stand back and go, I can't believe that happened, but maybe it's for the best. And that's me trying to say it without spoiling what happens at the end of part 4. It's a good ending. DBZ King 119. 1. What is the best video game adaptation of JoJo? So far to me, it's 7th Stand User, which is a free, turn-based RPG based on part 3. It has character relationships and a dynamic plot. You can even side with Dio by the end. It doesn't have the same problem of the other games do of having to try and adapt stand battles as a fighting game, which I feel is just not a great way to go about it. It's the best possible route without turning every stand battle into just tactical positioning. So turning it into a turn-based RPG does kind of get around that, but it's imperfect, but it's still interesting. It's still a fun game. 2. What is your personal favorite chapter in the series? I'm a simple-minded soul. The ending of part 2 is just a dumb roller coaster that I go back to it often. It's another big popular answer, but Darby's poker match is another favorite. 3. If I wanted to pick a good starting point for the series, what would be your recommendation? Part 1. Feel free to pick between anime and manga, that's your call. If you enjoy part 1, keep on enjoying it. If you feel bored, if you feel like I don't want to keep reading this, go to part 2. Each part is similar but different. Tone and characters change with each and every one. 4. Is begrudging respect going to become a recurring thing in further video reviews? Couldn't say. I write each video with the game specifically in mind, and Phantom Blood left me with begrudging respect in ways not many games did, so it became an element of that video. It's a bad game, but some of the ways in which it was bad, I had a respect for. It was bad in ways that suited it. It's more than likely I've expressed similar feelings in previous videos. I just didn't call it begrudging respect because it was maybe different than that. If another game causes similar feelings, hell yeah, begrudging respect is going to be coming back in a new form, or maybe I'll just call it begrudging respect again. Only time will tell. I don't like to say definites. There is a formula that I abide by, but it's modified by each game I cover in a way, so I don't know. I'm not too big on recurring elements unless I feel they're necessary. Roomba-san, least favorite JoJo. Okay, first off, Roomba, did we really need to bring things down? Did you really just need to flip Skeleton's questions around? Anyway, Jonathan. Second place is Giorno. I'll throw that in. But I don't dislike Giorno. I'm just lukewarm on Giorno. Least favorite supporting character, Joe Schmo. Iggy. I was going to say Poco, but that's a coward's answer. It's too easy. Iggy, I just find for the most part annoying. I still find him sympathetic. And he mistreats Polnareff, which, you know, that's a bonus. But besides that, I like what Iggy represents for the Speedwagon Foundation, but in execution, I just don't care about Iggy. I just find him a drain to watch. I'd rather be having just basically any other Stardust Crusader on screen than Iggy doing stuff. Least favorite villain. 2-for-1 deal here. Bruford and Tarkus. In concept, execution, and battle. Even as part 1 is overall boring, they represent the most boring parts of it. Least favorite villain, who is actually a villain and not a showboating flamboyant vampire / comedic relief. Diavolo. I know you've yet to read part 5 yet, so I will sum up why I feel this way, and why this is a little unfair on my part, without spoiling this as best I can. Diavolo's gimmick is a bit of a double down on Kira, to put it simply. To be reductive about it, even. He is incredibly secretive and wishes to destroy any trace of his past. He runs his mob family from the shadows and is willing to kill anyone he feels could be a threat to him staying undiscovered. The manga actually follows this motivation in a very literal way. So until very late in Golden Wind, we know very little about Diavolo. He's meant to be a menacing background presence. And King Crimson is a very intimidating stand. There is a cool twist to Diavolo, which I will not spoil, even though it's actually quite easy to guess. It's quite easy to call it from at the moment a certain character turns up. And just in terms of pure evil, he is one of the most repugnant villains in JoJo. Just utterly reprehensible. There is no way you can be on his side. And after parts 1 through 4, where villains are at the least charismatic, you know, and entertaining, and maybe have a sense of honor, the only thing. And you know, with Kira, he's just fascinating and different, and he's evil, but he's evil in this kind of unique, instinctual way where Kira develops some kind of twisted humanity. Diavolo, meanwhile, is just rotten. There's nothing there to like about Diavolo at all. He's very, very hardline, cruel. I appreciate that after 4 parts, where you can watch the villain and maybe be entertained by them. And on some level, just kind of go, I'd want to watch this guy's story. No, there's none of that with Diavolo. Which part has the most bullshit ending? And hey, part 5. In some ways, part 5's bullshit ending is good. In some ways, very, very bad. The whole final fight of part 5, there are parts of it I love. And, God, I hate the resolution of it. Skeleton. Back to Skeleton. Favorite moment of Coca-Cola product placement. It's a toss-up between Joseph using a Coke bottle to break a cop's finger, you know, to really establish he isn't English. He's an American JoJo. In part 3, again, Joseph advising not to drink anything that isn't out of a bottle or can in case it's poisoned. And you may be thinking, that's not Coca-Cola product placement. But yeah, it isn't. It's not explicit, but you can tell. He's putting his faith in Coke right there. This is a bit of a shorter Afterthought. It was a shorter game. I didn't have much to add on with. But it was fun to talk about JoJo. Maybe I'll return to it one day. I don't go on about animes or mangas very much. But, you know, maybe again one day. Anyone in the chat, feel free to recommend me anime games that are interesting. Maybe one day I'll cover them. You know how slow I am, so it wouldn't be, you know, for the next 5 years, basically. I apologize for how long Yakuza 2 is taking me. I hope to have it out by the end of August. That's all I will say. I apologize for how long this took. But, yes. All I can do is apologize. I can't make this come out earlier. So yeah, I'll see you for the next video.